I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my...
Good afternoon and welcome to the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. Today you have me because Gilbert, as usual, every other week he is in Las Vegas, but he is finishing up his contract. So for the month of June he will be back and he will be here for the month of July, and who knows what's going to happen in August. So, but we'll hold it down for him. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is June 2nd. And today is a very special day for me. One, the main reason is because today is my mother's birthday. And my mom was an amazing woman. I am who I am because of who she was. She encouraged me to be who I am, to go after things that were passionate to me and to live the fullest of my life. She was the very first entrepreneur that I had been exposed to. She came from a line of them. And she taught me that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that's exactly what I could be. We had our very first business when I was 14 years old. She was a seamstress, and so was I. That was some of the skills that we had to learn. I had to learn as a child. So we made little girls' dresses, and we sold them to my coworkers and colleagues. And I was 14 at the time. And over the years, we had many ventures and many businesses that we both conducted. And so that was where my seed was planted. So happy birthday, Mom. I love you. I miss you terribly. But I know I carry you in my heart every single day. So I know you're making everybody up there in heaven, my grandmother and all my other family members that are there, very happy as well. So that's today. Also, let's see. This week has been a very exciting week with what's been going on in Washington, D.C. with number 45. There's been a lot of going on, which reinforces why we have to start taking care of ourselves, because he certainly is not worried about us. And so we have to do what we have to do. So today is going to be kind of in that vein. I am very happy to have my guest in the studio today, Mr. Kene Turner. We're going to be talking about a subject that is very near and dear to me, and it always has been. It's about our youth and our kids and how we're making a better place for them in this world. Last month, our topic was on reinvesting in our community. And today, I think if we don't do anything else, it has to be how we're going to make this place better for our children, because this is what we're working with now. We've already lived our lives and we've already done what we've had to do. And so now we have to help our kids be able to find their own place here on this planet. And we have to make this planet a lot better than it is right now, because as it stands, it needs a lot of help. And our kids would be in a lot of trouble if we had to leave today and leave it to them. So we're going to talk about youth entrepreneurship. The cornerstone of changing the economy is all about entrepreneurship. It's about creating and reinvesting and creating monies to circulate. And the only way you can do that is create new businesses, and then those new businesses can then hire people. Businesses come and go. We've gone through that over the last 20-something years. You've had companies go out of business, big mammoth companies that have been here forever. But at the same time, you've had new companies that have come in to disrupt the status quo. And a lot of those individuals are young people, are young millennials. But we got to go further back. We got to drop down to our youth, to our kids, because they're so creative. They're so innovative. And so we want to talk about that today. So that's one of my favorite subjects. So to kick it off, before I start to talk to Kene, and we have another guest with us as well. I'll get his name and you'll get his name as well. years ago you would hear about kids having businesses and they'd have paper routes and they'd have lemonade stands and they'd sell T-shirts but recently you've been hearing about kids that are becoming web developers, manufacturers, app developers, and power sellers on eBay. So kids today are taking it to a whole nother level. You got 16-year-olds that are making $60,000 a month working with clients like IBM and Microsoft. 14-year-olds earning $1.2 million in a year making jam. You have the young lady that just got a contract of, I think it's Lemonade B or something, B and something, but she just got $1 million contract with Whole Foods. You have a number of entrepreneurs that are increasing unimaginable over the last 20 years, and they're not playing. They're coming out the back with these amazing businesses. Today's entrepreneur or kidpreneurs, they manage staffs, they're meeting celebrities, they're on TV, and they're handling it like pros. And so we want to be able to continue to help those kids. I personally think that children should go to entrepreneurial schools, and I think it should start at the age of 5. I think that if you expose kids, from my experience, whatever you expose a child to when they're young, they are going to excel in that area, and they're going to just make a believer out of you. So for you parents out there, today's show is going to, 1, open your eyes, I hope, 2, help you develop your budding entrepreneur, and 3, we hope you'll sign up for our biz camp that's taking place this summer if you're living here in Los Angeles. So that's kind of where we're going with this. We want to help our kids to become more innovative, more creative. A lot of them are risk takers. A lot of them are already driven and determined. And these young kids are changing what we see in the world because they've created some amazing businesses. So with that, I am going to introduce my guest. He has been in this entrepreneurial world for a long time. And I actually am kind of impressed because he certified me last year as a certified teacher for Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, which is NIFTY in the acronym. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know all of this about him. I guess I even would have been more awestruck if I hadn't known. Thank goodness for the BusinessZone so I could find this out. But he, for the last 14 years, have been working with community-based organizations, academic institutions, and corporate foundations. And he's provided educational training on topics such as business education, workforce development, conceptual learning methodologies, and leadership development. Now, those are the things that our adult entrepreneurs desperately need. But he's been in the area of youth entrepreneurship. And so it's fantastic. I met him last year for the first time, and it was an honor. I had a fantastic time. It was like a 5-day
4-day.
4-day.
Yep.
It was 4 days. I learned a lot. Thank goodness I already knew some stuff that I was already teaching. So that was good. Yeah. And then I had the privilege of having his 3 children in my class. That's right. And they were working on and I thought it was kind of cool that I was teaching your children how to be entrepreneurs instead of you. Yeah, that's the way to do it. You got to get somebody else to do it. So put this on. Yeah. So it was absolutely amazing, and so that was pretty cool. And then it was such an acclimate that here I was teaching your kids what you taught me. So I don't know. They did very well. His son is definitely an entrepreneur. Yeah. He's very, very creative, very innovative. They loved it. Yeah. So that was an honor for me. So welcome, Kene.
Thank you.
Privileged to have you here. Yes. And we're going to have fun today.
We are.
Yeah, we are. And I didn't get your name.
Brandon Martinez.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about you, Brandon.
Well, I've started interning with NIFTY since the winter last year, and I'm currently a student at Harvard. Just got out of my freshman year, and over the summer I'm going to be helping NIFTY out more because I really believe in the entrepreneurial mission, and I really believe in complementing that with politics and education, and I think that's why NIFTY's been such a great experience so far.
So do you have any entrepreneurial endeavors, or you already got something going on? Or?
Personally, I'm more interested in going through a political route, but I'd like to start a nonprofit group that is in charge of changing voting laws in, I'm going to start with my city in Tustin, Orange County, but then hopefully when I go back to school and beyond that, like I'll make that an entrepreneur.
Well, we need that from the political side, and we need fresh blood in the politics, in the political world right now. and so that'd be fantastic. Also, last year, and I saw Mary Grace. Remember, did you ever meet Mary Grace? She was our assistant last year at the Biz Camp.
Oh, possibly.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I'm watching a program that's on Channel 2, I think, and it's about young people that are doing these amazing things and about entrepreneurial kids, right? Oh, wow. I can't remember what's the name of it, but it comes on Sunday mornings about 10 o'clock. So I see this young girl, and I went, she looks familiar. And so she had these headbands, and I remember Mary Grace had headbands, and I didn't catch the name when it first came on. Well, here she was here for our camp, and she was fantastic. Wow. So then they say her name. Here she's gone all over Africa taking these headbands, and the kids are selling the headbands. Yeah. She has her own factory in her home where she's making them, and then she takes them over to Ghana. She was in Ghana. Wow. And that was helping them be able to buy school supplies. Nice. Yeah, I didn't even know that was in your camp, did you?
That's good to know.
But she was awesome to us, so that was kind of exciting to see her on television. On television talking about her program. Yeah. That was really, really cool. Nice. Let me say hello to my Facebook friends. Hey, Lamar. Hey, Professor Karimu. Let's see. Constance, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Business Zone. So, Kene, tell me what really got you. Are you from entrepreneurial people, or?
That's a great question. So, first, it's a privilege to be here with you, Miss Mitchell.
Thank you.
The synergy was very obvious from last year when we first met, that you had an entrepreneurial heart, and that you wanted to use it to help transform your community. So that's really what drew us together, I think, even though it was a training that brought us together. But we're here today because of that same synergy. So thank you for inviting us here today.
Oh, you're welcome, both of you.
So, and the materials and the tools we provide don't come alive without an instructor who really carries that mission well. So you do that very well. So thank you again.
Thank you.
So entrepreneurship education is something that if you were to ask me when I was younger if I was going to be in it, it kind of found me more than I was looking for it.
Oh, okay.
I had, long story short, I'm from New York City, as you know, and I grew up in Queens. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Queens, New York. Partner of mine, we started a first business when we were late teens, early 20s, and we did a fashion business. So believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was back when I had hair, and I used to go to the barber, and I used to have a little more swag than what I have now.
Before becoming a dad of 3.
But that passion and that zeal, and we were just inspired by our neighborhood. We grew up in a neighborhood that had some just some entertainment icons come from it. And so we were inspired, and we created a clothing line that would encourage our community. We grew up in a predominantly African-American community, and which had some challenges and struggles of its own. So we wanted to create a business that had a mission attached to it.
Right.
And so our clothing and shows that we did all had some level of vision or mission and how to make the world better.
Oh, okay.
And it was in that process, believe it or not, that we did that for a few years. And it was in that process that someone, a colleague of mine, saw me in the midst of that, one of our shows. And there was an opening at the local YMCA kind of community program in a school. Okay. And so they said, why don't you go and just share some resources with them? And I said, sure, I could do that. I don't think I want to tell anybody how to do this. I didn't, kind of all over the place. I didn't have that kind of, I was kind of going off the gut, off the hip.
Right.
And so when I went to go talk to them about sharing resources, the directors of this program said, hey, why don't you come and teach our young people about business? And I said, I don't think you want me teaching young people about business. I got, I just kind of, I could tell you, I could do it, but I couldn't tell you how I got there kind of thing. And I went home and thought about it, and I even rejected the offer, which is a very powerful gesture. I said no to the opportunity, but they wouldn't let me say no. And that conversation, in the context of that conversation, when someone says no to something that they need, it takes a visionary and a care for the community to not be sideswiped by someone's no when you know they need something. Right, exactly. And so those directors wouldn't give up on me, and they were Keith and Collar, and they just wouldn't let me say no. And
they saw a calling. They saw something in you that they needed you to be able to see in yourself.
Yeah, and that's what our work is about. And so from that day, till now, that conversation, had they allowed me to say no, I wouldn't be here right now. So I got to give, just really, respect to that conversation, and that carried me through because. The information that we provide and the inspiration sometimes may not be sought out or seen right away.
Exactly. And most times not, especially if you're teaching business to adults. Exactly. They're not seeking that out, to say, okay, I'm looking for this classroom or this so I can learn how to be a businessman. No, it's a default kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and it was from there that I started teaching entrepreneurship education in a middle school in Queens, New York.
Okay.
So, and I was a hot mess teaching it. So this was no blueprint on how to teach. There'd probably be a blueprint on how not to do it. But eventually I came across Nifty.
Okay.
And Nifty, once I got trained in 2004 on how to teach business. With I call it, learn how to read music.
Right, yeah, it is the step-by-step plan.
Nifty taught me how to read the music of business. And, from that point on, I began to fall in love with the process and the strategy that if you can take an individual like myself who knew very little, then you can take just about anybody and teach them how to be skills. Yeah. Whether they own their own business or whether they work for a company where they think entrepreneurially is also a major goal. So that's how it got started. There's more deeper dives we could take, but in a nutshell, I got started in that just very local, community driven. And just fell in love with the process.
And I think it's the local community-driven part. And it's kind of interesting because I also fell into it, although I got my entrepreneurial training at SC. I had gone to school. My original game plan was to be a doctor when I was in New York. I'm from upstate New York.
That's right.
So, and then my parents divorced. That changed that plan. And so we came out here, and so it's like, okay, I got to think of another world. Well, children have always been some part of my world. Even my business wasn't based upon them, but my passion for making this world a better place for them was always there. That's so right. I was a Girl Scout leader and everything. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go into child development. I'll own a nursery school, still entrepreneurial. Right. And then I thought, oh no, you got to be there from 6 a.m. to 6 o'clock at night. That ain't gonna be cool. I don't want to do that. So then I changed it over to business, and then I kept going, and then I went to SC. But how I got into teaching was because when I became involved on an internal level with Recycling Black Dollars. There's a contest that they were sponsoring and marketing, which was actually a birth idea of Muhammad Nazardine, who's the founder of Recycling Black Dollars, and it was with Miller Coors, the beer company. And they have a competition every year, and Muhammad had gone to Miller and said, look, you guys are saturating our community with 40 ounces and all that sort of stuff. I don't want your money. I want you to give your money to individuals. So they're going to complete business plans, and then they're going to submit them, and then you're going to provide them with a grand prize. Gotcha. So it started at $5,000, and today it's like $200,000. Wow. Today it is actually marketed and marketed with Damon John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they don't do it used to be just a business plan.
Yeah.
So when the very first time we marketed and we went out campaigning and getting people involved in it, and then I had them submit their plans to me first.
Yeah.
Now my background is accounting.
Right.
So I'm looking at the numbers going, what the heck is this?
Right.
The forecasting, okay, this is not going to work. And then when you ask them about a balance sheet, they're going, what's that?
Right.
Or profit and loss, they're going, what's that?
Right.
Like, okay, we're going to have to dial this back. So one of the ways to get them, so then I started teaching just them. And then I realized, wait a minute, this needs to happen. And then at the same time, I had an accounting, bookkeeping clientele, and I would be teaching them.
Right.
Instead of me just doing it, I was helping them understand why I was doing what I was doing. So it was part of the coaching process. So one of my colleagues said, you do realize that you're a coach? I said, no, I'm not. She said, yeah, you are. No, I'm not. This is what I do. This is what my business is. And they're like, no, you're a business coach. Yeah. You're actually helping them work out and create a foundation of their businesses. And so after that, like, oh, I guess I am, because that had been my practice for like 15 years.
Right.
But from the accounting standpoint. Right. But I always said marketing and accounting go to, your financials go together. Because if people don't know who the heck and what you're doing, you don't have anything for me to actually create bookkeeping issues for or a foundation for. So, and so I had already started with the marketing part and then the financial part, and so that's kind of how mine kind of fell into place.
Nice.
Yeah, and then Rhonda Santaford asked me to volunteer.
Right. Okay.
At Nifty Camp, the Biz Camp.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I came in as a volunteer for 2 summers.
Nice.
And then the next thing I know, I was being recruited in to become a certified teacher.
That's right.
And that was how I got to Nifty.
Right. There you go. Well, welcome.
Thank you. It's an excellent program.
Mm-hmm.
The very first year that I helped Rhonda in doing it, and I think that I was just kind of on the sidelines, and there was actually a certified teacher there, Tim, and he was coming to me to get information, but I took the format and I implemented it in my night class, because I actually had a class that was going on simultaneously to the Biz Camp.
Yeah.
Boy, were they in trouble then. Because I had benchmarks. I had kids that came in not knowing anything, and in 10 days walked out of there with a plan.
That's right.
So there was no mercy after that.
I hear you. Yep.
So can you tell us and our audience more of what the Nifty process and program is all about and why it started?
Absolutely. So the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship started almost 30 years ago. In fact, we're rounding our 30-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was started by Steve Mariotti, a founder. An interesting story about Steve, who, long story short, you can go on nifty.com and see more of the details around what Nifty does and where we're at, where we're located across the country and globally as well.
Okay.
Steve Mariotti was in the automobile industry in Flint, Michigan, and ended up in New York City in the early 80s.
Oh, okay.
And one day he was jogging in New York City in the early 80s. And while he was jogging, he actually got mugged in the early 80s. So from that mugging, he went to therapy, and he talked to his therapist, and his therapist suggested to go work with the marginalized low-income community.
Okay.
Because Steve's thought process was, why would someone take the risk of robbing me? I only had a few dollars. They could, mess up their record or their lives for a long time for just a mere few dollars. And it intrigued him as to why someone would take that risk. And so he actually went to do that. He went to become a teacher.
Okay.
Became a math teacher in some of the toughest areas of New York City. Started out in Brooklyn, Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn, and then ended up in the Bronx teaching math. And it was in the math class he had an epiphany, because no one would necessarily pay attention to the math problems, but when Steve would connect the math to how to make money through business, they were very interested. And one thing that he realized is that young people in certain
in areas that he was teaching, and which were extremely impoverished, had an innate characteristic for entrepreneurship. They were risk takers. They were creative. They were very resilient, and they were willing to overcome challenges to get to an end result. So with the right tools, they can put that energy and passion towards something very positive. So Nifty was born out of the context of a math class that would help students and young people learn more about the principles of entrepreneurship and make it more applied to their lives and more relevant. So to this day, that's the foundation of how we teach Nifty and what we do and why we do what we do.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because, I don't know, you might be too young, but you definitely might know. Remember the series The Wire?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And the principal, do you know The Wire?
I only know a bit.
Yeah, okay. So obviously the principal they were in the drug business.
Right.
But one of the things that, and at that time I had just really gotten hot and heavy into my teaching adults business, how to write business plans. But one of the things I took away from that was, look how they organized an actual corporation.
Right.
Now, mind you, it's for the negative, but if you took that to the positive, right?
That's right.
They leadership.
That's right.
They knew how to delegate.
That's right.
They knew how to keep controls of their merchandise. They could count money in their head. They didn't even have to. You just gave them some numbers, and I mean that's all math, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And they knew how to do that.
Right. They did.
And so when you look at it, and I had talked to a psychologist, and one of the things that she did up in New York at Rikers Island. Yeah. She would go into the drug dealers, and she actually introduced them to network marketing, not the ones that pertain to money, but the ones that talk, the distribution lines and being able to recruit, because that's what they do.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
when you look at it, so it's just redirecting the negative into a positive, and applying the entrepreneurial business techniques to that.
100%, yeah. And that's an important strategy and factor in life, to know how to make something out of nothing.
Right.
To know how to not just wait for someone to give you a job, but to create one for yourself.
Exactly.
So with the right tools and the right pedagogy and procedures, entrepreneurship could be that instrument for a lot of our young people to eradicate poverty. Right. It could be the mindset switch that some of our communities need, that tend to be in a cyclical pattern that keeps us or keeps certain communities down and just void of opportunities, or seeing where those opportunities are at.
Right.
When this information is provided the proper way, then not only will they see it, they'll be able to seize it as well and grab it and grab a hold of that information and run with it. And so why entrepreneurship is so important to myself is that angle. I think it could be a tool that really transforms communities. That we provide at Nifty a lot of textbooks. We provide experiences for our teachers. We work with schools all around. We're in Los Angeles. We work with several schools in Los Angeles in the LAUSD system, almost 2,000 students in all of our schools. But that doesn't mean much if it's not tied into some of the key aspects of how it helps to connect and transform to their communities. And I think that's where the context of where we provide entrepreneurship could really help in a lot of the communities we work in. So. And that's vital to our society today. And when entrepreneurship is done the right way, it has human worth and value at its core. It's not greed at the core. Entrepreneurship is in nature is very giving. Yes. Rather than just taking. And so the concept of teaching how entrepreneurship can be used not just to make a dollar. Steve Mariotti, the founder, used to say money is the tool, it's not the goal.
It's not the goal. And if you really have a passion about what you're doing, the money's going to come anyway.
That's right.
But you can't be focused on just that. It helps guide you.
Right.
To make sure that your business is feasible.
Exactly.
But it's not, that should not be the driving force of why you're in business.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It cannot be. And from our historical, obviously African Americans, after we were emancipated, that was the only way we could create a new way of life for ourselves.
Sure, absolutely.
Was to be able to create businesses and be able to, because we weren't allowed to go and shop with them.
That's right.
So we had to create our own economic base, and that was Black Wall Street and so many others in New York, and there's many of them. And I know from your culture as well, that's the basis of most minority cultures.
Right.
In being in business for yourself.
Right.
Because they weren't hiring us.
That's right.
So it's out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
And that's solving what we do. We solve a pain with a solution.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And there's still a challenge, though, having access to that information. So one of the reasons why we start so young, we go middle school into high school, because we want to have a connection with family. We want this to be the dinner table conversation. We want students to bring home what they learned and be excited about the topics that they're learning. And so we do a lot of activities and strategies to help make that happen, to bring this experience and content outside of the classroom, on a young person's level, so that when they go home, they're challenging their families and having this additional conversation at home about entrepreneurship, about business, about income statements, about marketing and sales, about market research, and what that all means. And at that point, when entrepreneurship spills over into community, into families, it could be very transformative in terms of conversation. And it's, there may not be a lot of resources for our young people to have access to initially, or they don't see that. And so we want to expose what those resources are they can get access to right away. When entrepreneurship is done with people at the center of it, it can be very cooperative.
For sure.
It could be extremely cooperative and provide what we call cooperative economics. And Dr. Viv, who is at a local college here at Azusa Pacific University, kind of gives these 10 principles of economic transformation. And, one of them is having community cooperative economics, where people are working together to push a group of people out of poverty, or to ensure the stability of economics in a community. It's going to take some unity and some coming together for that. It's also going to take, just valuing human worth. Caring enough so that so economically we share equity among communities, that we share the opportunities that exist in human society.
I just saw a documentary, and you can find it on YouTube. It's called 7 a.m. And it talks about that. It's a takeoff of I don't know. Do you know Dr. Dr. Anderson? He does a book called Power Economics, Powernomics. And he gives actually the strategy. He gives us a 5-year strategy how we could actually change the African American economic situation. He points. And so the 7 a.m. is really an extension of that. And so he gives the 5 levels. One is the cooperative economics and coming together and working together, recycling our dollars in our community, and then taking those dollars, creating entrepreneurial opportunities, creating jobs from those our community endeavors, and then taking those dollars to use it to have power in the political world, because that's the only way you get them. If you didn't pay for them to get there, then now you got some say-so. If you hadn't paid for them to get there in that seat, you don't have nothing. That they are not listening to you. So it's all about being able to buy them and help them get into office. And then from there, the next level, and he did them in floors on 7 a.m., and he did it on floors. Then the next level is now you have the power because you have money. So now you can direct the legal system. And making sure that the lobbyists and the laws are working in your favor as opposed to against you. And then the final stage of that is media.
Got you. Okay.
Because now you get the message out to your people to what they need to hear, which is why we created the Business Zone, was because I found that when I'm out networking and talking to people, that is the lack of knowledge that we have. And when we do get the knowledge, it's 5 minutes before you can actually execute the knowledge, and you don't have enough time. There's no plan time. That's right.
That's right.
So that's the reason for the Business Zone, is to get the information to you so you have plenty of time to make that decision.
And we appreciate it. appreciate the business.
We need the information.
Yeah, we need the information, right? And so bringing people to the table
That's huge.
to share, because your world is nifty, and if you're not me or those of us that are part of your world, then no one else knows about
That's
nifty, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And something Brandon and I were talking about, and Brandon, feel free to add to this, but we were recently talking about this, that the kind of like the saying of, if you give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you will feed them for a lifetime. However, as Michael Mata says, who's a local community activist here in Los Angeles, he says you've got to have access to the pond to teach somebody how to fish.
You got to have access to the pond. So they don't give you a license.
You can know how to fish. You can know exactly what to do. But if you don't have access, and that access sometimes comes through advocacy, and opening up the door and sharing that equity so others can have the same opportunity. Entrepreneurship really can flow and work for all groups of people at that point, not just for certain ones, not while others are able to take advantage and others are not. When entrepreneurship's at its best, it provides a fair share of equity for all to have access to it. And we were just talking about, why advocacy and the political realm connects with what we're doing in entrepreneurship, and opening those doors. So.
And it's very important. And so when you said that, that's why I said that political piece is really important, because one of the things, and I think I've spoken to you about this, and from the adult level as well as the kids, we can help them create these amazing businesses. For the businesses that will really make an impact in our community, they need funding. They need capital funding in order to hire and provide jobs, right? So, and if they're going to do manufacturing, they got to buy machinery and have all the resources. Well, that's the part that is missing from the entrepreneurial picture. I think from the Hispanic population, from the African American population, we don't really have a pool that we can go to and get funding to make sure that we're properly capitalized to start our businesses. So consequently, they stay mom and pop, right? And then the same thing with our children. But we need, from the political side, then legislation that will come down and say, hey, we need to make sure there's a pool, a minority-based pool, so these businesses can come through. If they're viable businesses, they've been received the seal of approval. Now give them a $25,000 loan. You can do something with $25,000 to long as you've got the training and the education to know how to take that and leverage it up to the next platform.
Absolutely, 100%. And what's interesting about entrepreneurship, it allows you to have a variety of starting points. And you can start with a less is more approach.
You can.
And you can start where, here's level 1. in a few years, I'll get to level 5. And, before coming to Nifty here in LA, I moved here to LA last year from New York City. I finally made that move, coast to coast, brought my family here. But prior to, for the 8 years previous, I had a consulting business in New York City. And so I worked with a diverse number of groups. So along with working in the young entrepreneurship space, I did a lot of work in the adult entrepreneurship space and provided a lot of business coaching for entrepreneurs in New York City as well. And one of the groups that I worked with was a formerly incarcerated group. They were men and women who have been in prison for about 10, 15, 20 years. And they had come out, and entrepreneurship was a viable option for them.
Pretty much the only option, right?
And in some cases, yes.
Yeah, the only option,
Some cases. And so it was amazing to see them grab that information so powerfully and apply it. And some of them actually start their own restaurants and in their own physical brick and mortar. It was pretty powerful. So when you're able to just grab a hold of, and you've learned that, hey, I have access to these opportunities exist for me as well, and you've kind of presented the information in a certain way that is empowering or allows you to take this information and run with it. It's amazing what people can do with the information.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We're going to take a quick break, and when you come back, with those that are incarcerated, I have a mentee that came out of prison after 15 years, and he came with he likes to say, I came out of prison with my business plan, because that's what I spent my time doing, and my $237 general relief, and he went to business. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back.
Awesome.
Cool.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
Back. You are tuned in to the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. You can also watch us at morrismedialive.com. And if you have any questions or comments or want to know how to sign your children up for the Biz Camp that starts July 10th to the 21st, is a 10-day camp specifically and designed for children to teach them how to become entrepreneurs. You can give me a call at 323-293-3375. So we're going to get back to our subject. So this young man had been in prison for 15 years, went in using his skill sets that got him in there at the time. He would have been called a mixologist. And so when he came out, he said, you know what? I can take those same skills and I can create a business that I can use those skills, because he's almost like a chemist. And so he created a line of shea butter, natural shea butter, lotions, and creams. And so he has been doing extremely well. 5 years later. So what he's done was he took his little couple $100 general relief and he reinvested it back into his business. And he bought his bottles and he got his logo and his labeling. And then he set up shop outside of various restaurants. And then he came into my class, to a business plan class, and he wrote his business plan. And so now, the last time I heard, he's actually taken it to another level. He's now has his product in certain stores, barbershops. He's done collaborative businesses with barbershops and little boutiques, community boutiques. The name of his product is called Bait. It's designed for the 21 to 35 who's out in the club scene. And obviously bait is because the oils that he uses is to attract the opposite sex. And so that's why it's called bait.
Okay.
So I'm very proud of him.
Yeah.
And right after I did the Nifty Camp, the first summer, I was not a certified at that point. I was just one of the assistants with Rhonda. Rhonda was the certified. So we got an opportunity from one of the teachers that started the program over at Dorsey. Her name is Carla Esty. Do you know Carla?
Maybe by face.
She's kind of tall. Well, she started the entrepreneur program at Dorsey.
Okay.
She's last year left and went over to Horace Mann, and I think she's doing it with the junior high students, but from a tech side.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So she asked us to come in to prep the 9th and 10th graders because their program is for the 11th and 12th, right? Yeah. So me and Rhonda, we used to the camp because, we handpick our kids for the biz camp, right? So we used to those children that we might have a few disciplinary problems, but not a lot. And, these kids were out of churches and so forth. So, whatever they're absorbing and they're creating and they're innovative. Then I went into Dorsey. And the first day, and it was 11 weeks. We had to be there 11 weeks.
Yeah.
So I go in with I'm ready.
Yeah.
And the kids, I said, so what do you want to be when you finish high school? They looked at me like I was speaking Swahili. And then I went, oh, okay, they're not hearing me. And Rhonda was like, she had a little panic look on her face. And I said, well, what do you dream about? And they still that blank look. Yeah. Like, okay, this is going to be a lot tougher than we thought. So one of the kids stepped up and he said, Miss Crystal, we don't dream. No one has ever told us that we could dream. Nobody in our family dreams. No one has any goals or aspirations. So, and he was speaking for his fellow peers. He says, we don't know how you want us to answer this. Yeah. Like, okay. So Rhonda's going, oh, maybe we bit off more than we chew. Maybe we shouldn't do this. I said, oh, no, they didn't just created a challenge for me. Yeah. I'm going to make sure at the end of this 11 weeks, these kids are dreaming. And so that's what I did. We had to break it down and we had to push back from the entrepreneurial side of it and just get in and teach them how to do their creative. And I don't know. I mean, you've been working with the individual, from middle school, and you've been in middle school. So somewhere along the line after elementary school, the creativity stopped. Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I've seen it in my friends at times. It just kind of depends on, like you said, it depends on the community that surrounds you. I've seen friends who had energy and a passion for being an astronaut, being a doctor, and by middle school, enough people have told them that that's a silly dream that just kind of dies. And I think, again, like Kenny was saying, it's really about telling kids that those dreams are real and those dreams are something they can attain. And I think then you can get kids back into dreaming.
Yeah. Right, because that's what I saw. You as well?
Absolutely. No, yeah, and I think it's one of the core components of our program, and I think any entrepreneurial education experience can't just talk about business.
Yeah.
We need to talk about it from a holistic approach.
Yes.
To hit those intangibles that help create entrepreneurial experiences within our communities. So if all we had to do was to know business principles, then that would be simple.
Right.
Our communities would be transformed. Everything would be fun.
Right, exactly. Right. Exactly.
But there's self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
Because no one told us that we could do it. That gets embedded. And a lot of learning is unlearning. It's sometimes unlearning what you know to adapt to something completely new and different. And that holistic approach, which deals with the whole person, I think is vital to any community success and transformation process. So you're spot on. I think creativity is one of those things that if at some point we lose the passion for drawing, and maybe, and I say drawing because when you're a kid, you don't care what your drawing looks like.
Right.
You go over to mom and or dad and say,
look at mommy, I drew this. Right, exactly. And they're like, oh, baby, that's so cute. That's right, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
but somewhere along the line, somebody tells them that that's not drawn the proper way with the right dimensions. Right. And what are you doing? And then it just kind of takes away the drive and the excitement about what they're doing. I know when I was at Dorsey, I had to individually go to each one of the children, and I used every resource I had. I brought in my guy from the prison. I told him, hey, I need you to go over there and do some shock treatment. Keep the language down, because I got them in control on that. But I need you to let them know that whatever life they think is exciting and thrilling is not. Because I had one child, young guy, he told me, he was doing it for shock treatment. He says, I want to have a business, drugs. Okay. I said, all right. Well, I tell you what. And he kept doing it because he was trying to get some sort of reaction. It's like, that ain't going to work, buddy. I said, I tell you what, here's your homework. If you go and do your research and you come back with a report where a drug dealer is still alive, haven't been to jail, don't have to have complete bodyguards around himself and his family, and that he is not fearful for his life and his family's life, and he's never been in a shootout, never got shot, then we can work with that. Right. So you go and do that. So finally, about 2 weeks of next week, I went, where's my report? I'm still researching, Miss Crystal. I'm still. Finally, on the third week, he says, why did you say jail? There are no drug dealers that haven't been to jail. I said, so then we can't do this business now, can we? Yeah. He says, okay, I'll do a T-shirt business. I said, okay, now we're on point, and let's move forward. But, it's just he was looking for that shock. Yeah. And then I said, so then after that, I brought Kevin in. Kevin dispelled all of that stuff on what that really looks like in jail and what that looks like. He said, when I went into jail, when I went in, there were pagers. When I came out, there were cell phones. Yeah. And he says, and I had a daughter who was 5, and now she's 23. And I missed all of that. Yeah. So that life is not as glamorous as you guys think. Sure. And when I went back to ask him out of all my guests, that was one of the most memorable guests. Nice. That they remembered and they saw, and they were able to tell me what resonated with them. And at that point, I had them. And so this one young guy told me, he says, okay, and then I had to even use props. I think with kids, which is why the Nifty program is so amazing, because you have the theory, and then you have the practical. That's right. And so you have to be able to use that to draw out that creativity. That's right. So I had a couple of young boys that were twins, and they played soccer. And they wanted to play soccer professionally. They wanted to go to different colleges and everything. So I went and I came back with a little booklet of all of the professional athletes out there that were twins or triplets that were playing professional ball. And after that, they were ready to make T-shirts and shoes and all kinds of stuff. And then that was it. They got excited. I showed them, how they have their merchandising and all and they're like, we can do that? You can do whatever you want.
Right. That's powerful. It's a powerful statement, too, because just like what you did, you brought in the reinforcements. Yeah. And you brought in other members of the community so that those students could be exposed to individuals and professionals that maybe they wouldn't normally get a chance to have access to. So, and that's one of the parts of the program as well that's so important to help pull out that creativity. It may not come from the educator themselves. Right. It may come from the slew of volunteers and program partners we have, the local businesses that we work with, as well as the more national corporations we work with as well. We bring them in, we bring students out to the locations as well, and allow them to just have another touch point outside of the normal surroundings, which is all inclusive of holistic approach to entrepreneurship, and allowing students to be exposed to something different so that they can take on something new or new mindset around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial thinking. So, because the idea also, if you think about it, when you learn about entrepreneurship, and a lot of our students, even though they learn about business and we teach them all the core principles of entrepreneurship, statistically, still, a lot of students are going to end up working for someone else.
Right, exactly.
And that's okay. The idea is, in the midst of learning about business and entrepreneurship, when you know how a business works, even when you go work for one, because that's where we're all pretty much headed.
Right.
You're going to own your own, or you're going to work for someone.
Right, exactly.
Who has one, or an entity. When you think entrepreneurially, that's a very powerful stance within your role within that company.
Right.
Because you'll be all those holistic and intangibles that you applied or learned that an entrepreneur applies, the creativity, the initiative, the self-confidence, or the confidence to speak and project your ideas, you can also apply while working for someone else. So there are a ton of case studies in terms of entrepreneurs, the individuals that apply entrepreneurship thinking while working for someone else,
right?
That have done really well. Actually, the Post-it is one of those examples. The individual that created the Post-it was working for an organization,
right?
And thought very entrepreneurially within an entity. The same thing with the PlayStation. The PlayStation video game console was created by an individual who worked for an organization.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he thought outside of the box,
okay,
and created this game console. So there's a lot of different ways. Students don't have to feel. What's great about the program is it gives the freedom to choose. Right. But the information is shared, and maybe it's information that they may not have gotten otherwise. But then now they have a different position that says, you know what, now when I go to school, I know which direction I want to go. And if I end up working for someone else, I'm still going to be creative. I'm still going to take initiative. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a dismission. It's not to dismiss working for an organization. Oh, no. But it's to apply those principles on any platform that you find yourself in. As you go down the journey of life, you'll still be able to apply those principles. So.
And I actually, when I started my, I worked for a corporation, and after 15 years, I left and to pursue my entrepreneurial, because that was in my blood, and it was starting to really call. But what I did was I used working, and just as you said, Kenny, I used working for other organizations as my PhD program, right, on how to run a business on that level. And so I worked in a variety of businesses. And the last business I worked in was actually was a company that was, it was in the early .com. And I was in the accounting department. And so multi-million dollars came through. I mean, when I processed the bills every 2 weeks, I was $250,000. Wow. And they had raised $12 million. Wow. So what I saw during that 8 months that I was there, and I was literally 9 months there, they blew through $12 million. When I came on board, they had just been funded.
Wow.
and because I was in the accounting department, I really saw how the money was being used. I saw the lack of, and that has been an issue with the .coms. They had vision. They had initiative. They were creative. They could pitch like nobody's business. Right. But they had no business skills. Right. So technically, they didn't have a product. Right. And they couldn't make any money. So the second round of funding, they couldn't get, because they weren't earning any money. Right. And so that was the lack of business skills, how to take that $12 million and be able to propel that into something else. That's right. Into that next level, right? So they couldn't go find new funding resources for it. So I watched them, and I was there when we closed the business down. But I learned a lot from that. And I also learned that you can have all the money in the world, and that does not guarantee that you're going to be a successful business.
That's right.
Because if you can blow through $12 million in 8 months, that just seems unheard of, right? Right. I mean, that's a lot of money. Yeah. But the salaries, I think all they actually ever earned in revenue when they went to look was $350,000.
Wow. Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, cause a lot of times when entrepreneurs, when you ask them, hey, what do you need to get going, what's stopping you from
money? They always tell you money.
And a lot of times they'll say money, but it's probably human capital equally or more that they're missing, and the individuals that they need to think entrepreneurially. What's also great is that if you don't possess all those skills up front, at the start of the business, you can partner with someone.
Exactly.
Which is what cooperative economics is all about.
Exactly.
It's saying, you know what, I'm not that great at X, but I know Brandon is, and maybe him and I can do some things together.
Right, exactly.
And that'll allow us to still have some ownership in community, and not let everybody else own and me buy from everyone else who's owning. But I can play in that game, or I can partake in that as well along the line. And it's just empowering to know that you can. It's empowering to know that you have those options and how it works. And that's what this exposes for both young people and adults. Our teachers and our educators also learn through this process. So even though they're teaching it, there's this ongoing training we provide. We provide ongoing training and support and professional development, not only how to operate in the classroom, but just information about business, and the holistic approach to entrepreneurship. So
I actually saw when we were doing with the volunteers, they made. A lot of them are professional, have their own businesses. Majority of them do, right? And I've actually watched them when they've been part of the class, and after they've done their coaching, and they're sitting back and staying and watching the kids, and the kids are learning this, and they're like, I didn't know that. So they're... and they may have been in business for 10, 15 years. And they're like, I never knew that.
That's right.
And so that they're also learning in that experience.
100%. Yeah. Back east, when I was my time in New York, while training for Nifty, also did a community business program called Rising Tide Capital, and that was also one of the things that while working with adults who came and took business classes, that was one of the things that stood out. They learned so much. There were some adults who already had their businesses in motion, but while they were learning the principles of entrepreneurship, it was the aha moments for them to say, hey, I'm doing this, but I didn't know that.
I didn't know that, right, exactly.
So it's very empowering, and that's why giving young people this information early, a lot of adults, when they see the Nifty program, they say, I wish I had this.
Yeah.
I've said that. I wish I had this.
Yeah.
I wish this was an option in my class.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Or in my community, to be able to even talk about this at a younger age. And there's a ton of information on the internet. You can go and get information about how to start a business with the power of the internet today.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just like it's like somebody just like dumped a bag of puzzles and said, now build the picture.
Right, and they still don't know how to connect the dots, right?
You got all the resources, just don't know where to start.
Right.
And so what this provides is a pacing and a pedagogy. Here's the starting point. Here's the midway point. Here's where you're looking to kind of land this plane. So it provides all of those tools necessary to help students say, all right, here's all the puzzle pieces. Here's where you start with this puzzle, and here's what the picture will look like. And it's an evolving picture. It's not
right. Exactly.
Once you graduate or finish our program, you're going to know all things entrepreneurship. But again, it begins a conversation that's very helpful for those students and families and communities that they're connected to.
I know. I remember when I first. And now you're going to be with Startup, or he's coming over to us too, or
hey, special request for.
I'm honored. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd like to have you come over to us for the 10 days.
Brandon's interesting too, because talking about soft skills, he's also an actor. He does plays.
Okay.
He does plays at Harvard.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So it's public speaking and presentation.
And that's very important in being able to pitch your business and market your business, because I always tell people they remember you. Not necessarily what you say, they remember you and how you deliver the message. Yeah. I've been in rooms, and I consider myself like a master networker, and I learned that skill. That's a learned skill. Right. And I'll know I'll be at some event, and I'll go and I'll stand up and they'll talk, and then a few minutes later somebody, you're Crystal Mitchell, and I'm going like, do I know you? And that was before the show. Now is a whole nother kind of thing going on out there. But before that, but I would make such a presentation. So the acting part and not being shy, because one of the things with the Nifty program is, which is wonderful, is that the kids have to get up throughout the process to pitch their business or
Right.
pitch a business or tell us why they created this marketing project or what have you.
Right.
And I think that's vitally important because
right.
a lot of businesses owners are internally shy, introverted, and being able to actually say succinctly and clearly what they do and what they need.
That's right.
No, but I think that's where the teaching part comes in, for sure.
Right.
If you take those stuff on the internet and read through them, you ultimately are trying to put puzzle pieces together in the dark.
Right.
You don't have those communication skills. You don't have the ability to approach somebody, to be somebody. You know, to have a persona that people can grab onto. So we went to the regional final competition last week for Nifty.
Oh, that was that big thing you guys did, right? Was that fantastic?
USC Galen Center.
Yeah, fantastic.
No, but it was great because we saw students that had next to nothing in terms of an idea, and like you said, didn't necessarily think of themselves as entrepreneurs, come up on stage and present to these judges like they'd been public speaking for years and for decades even. And I think that's ultimately what entrepreneurship does for people once they have it face to face and once they understand that this is something that can work for them.
Because it's all about what you're doing and letting somebody else know it. I know the first time I volunteered for Nifty, and they were telling me, okay, the kids are going to have a business plan in 10 days. And I went, no, they're not.
Right.
Because here I've been teaching for the last 8 years or 7 or 8 years, adults, and it's taken all of the 12 weeks. I had a 12-week program, and some of them still didn't have business plans. Like, no, they're not. And they're like, yes, they are. Like, yeah, right. And so here, 10 days later, these kids have not only a workable business plan, a thought-out business, a feasible business, and then they're doing a pitch on top of that.
That's right. Double whammy.
Double whammy in 10 days. And they really, literally only have 6 days to create the business plan.
That's true. That is true.
Right? 6 days really to create a business plan, and then the rest of it is all on perfecting and making sure, correcting the spelling and what have you, and then making sure that they're pitching and getting their point across.
Right. And I want to say this about the biz camps. Biz camps allow us to connect to the community in a way that we're not able to during the school year.
Right.
Because biz camps are housed in great organizations like the Urban League, where those students may not have Nifty at their school, but they can still partake in what we do. And one of our profound stories. There are many profound stories that came from Nifty the last almost 30 years.
Right.
But one in particular came from a biz camp. Her name was Jasmine Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
And Jasmine owns, ownership and a founder of Eden Body Works.
Oh, okay.
And
wow.
It was in a biz camp that she came across Nifty, and she didn't do her the business that she ended up doing. She didn't do in biz camp. However, she learned those principles and applied it, and she created Eden Body Works, which is all over the place now. So in Target, I believe, in Greens at one point, and multiple places around the country. And Jasmine learned that from some of those basic principles at a biz camp. So
because it doesn't really matter once you learn the principles. It doesn't matter what business you have. And I found for me, and you probably have found this as well, coaching adult businesses or adults who have businesses. So someone will come to me and they'll say, "This is my business." And they kind of lay out the groundwork or the foundation. And then in my mind, I'm going, if I was doing that business, I'd da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so I'll let them finish, and they'll go, but I'm kind of stuck here. And then I'll come back and say, have you tried? Wow, I never thought what? Because, again, they get focused on just one component of it. But I think a true entrepreneur sees all aspects of a business, and even businesses that can spear off, that can shoot off of that one business and create other businesses out of it.
Right. It's a listening. It creates a platform for listening as well.
Yes.
Which is another skill. It's a personal skill they learn. But one thing I've learned over the years, coaching, training, working with teachers, students, old, young, there's not a lot of platforms where people listen to you.
No.
So you may have this awesome idea, and you've tried to share it among friends and family, or etc., and no one's hearing what you're saying.
Right.
When you create an environment or an incubation that allows for listening, I have learned that people, even whether they start the business or not, they see so much value in being heard.
Right.
And so when you're heard and someone's listening to you, now you can acquire the tools, because you're saying, I'm willing to follow. Is anyone willing to listen?
Listen, right, exactly.
Nifty provides that space for listening for these young people that they've tried, they've written before, and now they're writing their thoughts and they're presenting. But really, it's a conversation of, and a lot of times they, whether or not they start that business or not, it gives them hope that, hey, there are people out there who will listen, and maybe they hadn't had that experience before, and they gain friends in the community that they never had before, from our volunteers, from organizations, resources they didn't even know existed, and so they know they can come back, because we do have an alumni program, alumni track.
Okay.
After you take Nifty, you can always come back and take advantage of the resources we provide to alum as well. And so, but they want that. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
And anybody would.
Everybody would. Anybody would. What I find absolutely amazing, the first time I did it, was the confidence level in the children. I mean, initially when you're having them, and like day one, you have them get up and they have to tell who they are and what their business idea is, and right? So some of them are really quiet, speaking you can hardly hear. You're constantly telling them to raise their voice. That's on day one.
Right.
By day 10, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a total transformation of this one introverted child who had squished all of their creativity to this out-the-box thinking child.
That's right.
It's amazing to watch that transformation in a very short period of time.
Yeah, very short.
Yeah, and that's the specialty, I think, about Biz Camp.
Yeah.
Because it takes you a little longer, and I would imagine when I was in the class with you, speaking to the teachers, they didn't have the same experience that I had, because ours was like an accelerated master's class for children. And our kids, even though the camp says 14, the last 2 years, our youngest kid was 9.
Right. That's right.
And then the two kids that won, they were under the age of 14.
That's right.
It
says volumes.
It says volumes right there. Volumes, and so one of my ultimate dreams is that there is a academy that's specifically for entrepreneurs. And that it starts at kindergarten, and then it goes up to 12th grade.
Nice.
And then from there, they already have a business in place.
Right.
So that business can then send them college.
Right.
And then they can take it and propel it into other businesses. And now these children know exactly what they want to major in when they go to college.
Absolutely.
Right. And they're so much more mature.
Right.
So much more ready for life.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I think, couple that with an investment group on the side that can invest in their businesses, that can actually make the businesses come alive, and be able to create those businesses and then provide for their families and so forth.
Absolutely.
That's my ultimate. That's my dream, and I'm working on it. I actually got a couple of people, but on the concept of Marcus Garvey. And for the African American community, it needs our children, that is going to be coupled with that, because they need to understand how the innovations and the interventions took place with our ancestors.
Right.
Because our blacksmith and the broom and all the things that came out of necessity to make slavery not so overbearing as it was, because they had to create tools to make their job easier. Right.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the basis of who we are as a people.
Right.
And so being able to couple that in, so getting their black history and their cultural, not even history, is their culture, is who they are.
Yeah.
And being able to create that. So that's my dream.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to make that happen, because whatever I put out in the world, that's going to be the intention. And teaching them how to invest, to understand money. And by the time they get to Harvard, they will be at Harvard, because, right? Because they will have started so young. And that's just the natural progression of where they should be.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going to be hungry for education.
Right.
Because when you get, what we find is that as students understand entrepreneurship better, then they want education on top of that.
Right.
And we see students more passionate about, okay, now I understand why English is so important, because it'll help me in my writing of the business plan. Now math, I can apply it to help me to manage my money and create it as well.
Right. Fractions, because if they're developing a product base and they have to measure the percentages and the ounces in order to make sure that they're pricing the product.
Right.
I had a lot of kids like, wow, you do need fractions in real life.
Exactly.
Or word problems are important, right?
Yeah.
Because because they're utilizing them. So
100%.
it would make the education process for both the teacher and the learner easier.
Much easier. Yeah. And
because of the application, it has it can be applied to something tangible.
Right. And you might say, hey, I want to be a doctor. Well, if you have your own practice, and I've heard this over the years many times, how doctors who they get the degree and they're ready to become doctors, but now they have to manage their own.
Right, exactly. Psychologists for sure. I've had numerous of clients for my accounting business that were doctors that they didn't know how to collect money. Right. They didn't understand money. They knew how to treat. Yeah. Like, how do I get my money?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's all important, And so I think what it does, it integrates entrepreneurship rather than just makes it, something you do on the side and only if you want to start a business, right?
Right.
So, and then the language of entrepreneurship is very inclusive.
Yes.
It allows for all groups to partake.
Right. Exactly.
And it's not just for those who have the money or the capital, but for those who are lacking financial capital, can find it through human capital, and we can bring each other up.
And you could create, and at that point, once you learn like the fundamentals of it, then you create, like you said, those businesses that the entry point may be $200, $300, $400,
right?
And then you take that business and let's see how I can keep building on that business and keep increasing and attracting the right contracts. Now I can actually go to this next level of that business.
That's
and but you got to understand, the whole financial business literacy of running a business.
Right.
And that's what's lacking in a lot of our adult businesses.
Sure, absolutely.
We don't have all those components. It's like you said, it's a puzzle.
Right.
And pieces. No, what did they say? I was watching something the other day, and this young lady had, this guy gave her a 500-piece puzzle, and he wanted to put her together to tell a story on why they weren't together any longer, or why they had whatever the mixed connect was. And so he just gives her a jar with puzzle pieces. Wow. He says, and go put that together. And she's like, I don't even have a box to look at the picture to see what it looks like. Right. But she kept at it until she put the 500, and then it told a story. Wow. Yeah. But that's what it is. Yeah. Running a business or starting a business in a default mode is like getting a jar full of 1,000-piece puzzles and no picture to work with.
That's right. Right. Because there's so much information out there.
Right, exactly.
And unless it's streamlined, it's very difficult to kind of follow suit on how to do that. So, so Nifty, along with there's other community-based organizations that provide entrepreneurship education post-high school as well. And Nifty, in terms of the educational realm, is allowing that space, just the partnerships to happen so that we can be a voice in the education system. Well,
I think that was very smart on Steve's part, was to expand out and for them, because he could have done that himself, had one academy with just a Nippy Academy, but it would only a small grouping of people would be able to attend that school at any given point in time over the years. But this way, he has a much further reach around the world. And I think, I've been teaching entrepreneurship for a long time. The basis of mine came from how I learned at SC, but I think the application applied to the theory is an amazing way for people to grasp it in a shorter period of time.
Absolutely, and it's a global thought. It's about starting local but thinking global. And recently I just got back, and I'm going to tell you my dream. In terms of what I would love to see our young people do in terms of next level and next step. I just got back a few weeks ago from India, And
wow, fantastic.
Yeah, and I trained 35 to 40 educators.
Oh, wow.
In India, and we launched a partnership with India with Nifty, and over there with an organization called TGALF.
Okay.
And they do a bunch of awesome things in their own right, but they partner with Nifty for the entrepreneurial component. And when I got back, and even last year, same thing, went to China, Shanghai, China, to launch a partnership there between Nifty and our China partners there.
Okay.
And back from both of those trips and previous international experiences, it's something I would love for our young people to experience, because when you go global in entrepreneurship, you'll find a lot of the language that applies here applies global.
Right, exactly.
And the mindset globally around entrepreneurship, where here it's kind of like, hey, there's this extra elective class. That
right,
you can take.
exactly.
In a lot of these other countries, it's like, hey, it's part of our culture, who we are, it's what we teach, it's what we do. It's like, we want to teach our families entrepreneurship for some of them.
And that's the only way. A lot of them that they're going to survive in this world. We're going to take a quick break, but there's an opportunity that, now that you said that may be available to you for a partner of mine.
Okay.
In Thailand.
Interesting.
As I'll explain it to you. So we'll take a quick break.
All right.
And I think we're taking a quick break. Or maybe not. So while she's on the phone. So a friend of mine just signed a deal with, he has a company that's getting ready to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay. And so one of the things they did was they signed a contract where they sold shares to Thailand, the government, for the Farming Association. And so each farmer will get X amount of shares. The actual government bought it for them. But now they all have their farms, but they need to learn how to run their farms from a business standpoint.
Interesting.
And so he had told me he wanted me to come and talk to be able to provide training, because that's part of the program. It's a part of educational training.
Wow.
Yeah, so then we can talk about that. I'll introduce you to him, and that would be fantastic. And maybe we can bring Nifty to Thailand.
That'd be awesome.
There's like 20,000 farmers.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's big.
Okay.
So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back.
All right.
Meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
we are back. We've been having an amazing conversation about youth entrepreneurship and the Nifty program, Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship to Kids. But it also crosses very well with adults because I've actually utilized it with my adults. They seem to be able to grasp it. Mm-hmm. I've even taken the overall theory of it, and I teach a bookkeeping, fundamentals of bookkeeping and QuickBooks class out at Mount SAC I'm doing it now, and it's an 11-week program. Right. And I've actually kind of utilized it in a certain aspect to how I teach QuickBooks to adults who don't have any accounting background whatsoever. Right. Yeah. And the program is kind of unique, and I think this is probably how we need to go about teaching now, is to bring in people that are actually, that's part of what they do. That's their profession. Yeah. And that's what they wanted. Because they could have had, it's a partnership collaboration between Mount SAC, well actually the Los Angeles Office of Education and Mount SAC, and then us, Buchanan and Associates. So we come in, we provide the training, and then, so we're subcontractors to them, nice. But they're getting the experience for somebody that's been in this business for 30 years. Right. And so I'm teaching them how I actually work with my own clients. Yeah. And so that's different. Yeah. And then I incorporate, because you got to understand the financial literacy, right? Sure. So I incorporate, there's a game that Richard Kiyosaki has, Cash Flow. Amazing game. My brother, we use it, we played a board game at home, but there's also an online version of it. Oh, and so you're trading and so forth. So I incorporate that in it. Oh, nice. And so that they understand their own balance sheet. Yeah. Yeah. And so now when they understand their balance sheet, they definitely will understand the company's balance sheet. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, really working. I have incorporated word problems. Nice. And so I use practice sets. I teach them the theory, and then I come along and my practice sets kind of layering like the Nifty. Yeah. So we start out where it gives you instructions. You follow all of the instructions. Right. It's a short one, maybe takes about 20 minutes. Then the next one is going to be 3 months of transactions and still a little bit of instruction. And the third one, instruction's gone. Because as I tell them all the time, when you are working in an accounting department, your boss not coming to give you, he's handing you an invoice and telling you to go do whatever you do with it. Yeah. And they're like, where's the instructions? Yeah. There are no instructions in real life. Figure it out. Figure it out. So it has to build their confidence, but I use everything. Yeah. I mean, and so a lot of it is coming from how I've learned to teach the Nifty program, awesome. And I was able to take the same thing and incorporate it in to mine. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So it's working, and so we've been pretty. This is the 5th class that I've taught, and I am proud to say we have a 95% higher rate. Nice. And these are individuals that have been with the social services programs. They, whatever aspect, whether they're receiving foods, the EBT for the food, or their health insurance or housing subsidies. But the whole concept is to get them off and permanently get them off. That's right. Yeah. And so the only way you can permanently get someone off of support is to give them a skill or teach them to fish and give them access. So the access is that we after they finish the class, we then help them find jobs. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Wow. And so I've been doing it for a little while. A couple weeks ago, a week or so ago, one of my colleagues called me. He's a CPA. He says, Crystal, do you have someone? I need to hire somebody. My person's gone after 20 years. I'm willing to train, but I need them to at least have the foundation. Mm-hmm. So I was able to send them we were able to send them reached out to my cohorts, and they were able to send them 2 applications. Wow. So that's how, from a community based, that's how we have to start working. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And so that we are all utilizing everybody's resources in order to execute, and at the end to get the same end result. Right. Right. That's powerful. I mean, yeah. No, it's really good. And for the student too, they'll never forget that opportunity, and they'll pay it forward themselves too. Right.
And they'll do the same when they those opportunities, and they're in that position to help someone else, because they've seen it modeled.
Right. They've seen it modeled, so they will do that. In fact, next week I'm meeting with a young man that was in our class last year, and he's over at he's taking a summer school class at Mount Sac.
Okay.
But he's going to be on a radio show. So he wants to meet with me so I can help him with his questions. So when he does the interviewing, he goes to Cal Poly.
Oh, okay.
And so he's taking a class over there, so I'm going to meet with him next week.
Nice.
So that's kind of fun. And I've been in stores. I did a kind of a trial for my 5-year-olds because I wanted to see how well this flowed in that marketplace. So I have a client that I do her payroll for and some consulting, and she has a nursery school. So they're actually from 1 up into 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I took her 4-year-olds up to her 8th graders, and I did an after-school program for them. And I used the Nifty format. I made some adjustments. But what I did was, because we didn't have a lot of time, it's just an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So I read a book and about having a lemonade stand and what it takes to do that.
Okay.
And then the kids had to answer questions.
Yeah.
And then I gave them biz dollars. I created tycoon dollars for every answer that they answered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the little ones were outnumbered by the older ones. And so they sat in the back, and it was like 4 of them. There was 5 of them. They were 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think. And so they couldn't answer as fast as the older kids. So they came together, and I kind of walked by, and I heard them going, if we take our dollars, we'll get $1. Each one of us get one $20, because they were getting $20.
Yeah.
We can, and I told them they could buy shares into the company.
Oh.
And so they said, we take ours, we can have 20 each.
Yeah.
We have 100 shares, and you can be the CEO, you can be the president, and they worked it out themselves so that they can have their shares.
Yeah.
It's just, you just bring it to children. They're like sponges.
That's right.
Yeah. Totally.
That's right.
They're like sponges, and they just absorb whatever you teach them.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Over and over again, they.
Don't they amaze you? I know your children amaze you.
All the time, and they're very good at managing their money. Knowing what I'm supposed to give them, when I'm supposed to give it to them.
Right.
So they always remind me. So I think they'll be all right. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, kids nowadays are so much more resourceful because they one, having the internet at hand.
Yeah,
I think that may, and you could probably, Brandon, comment on this, is that some of that creativity as well. Because when we were kids, we had to create our own games and world, right?
That's right.
We had to use our imagination, and I mean, especially if you were an only child, you were everybody. You were all your friends all at once,
That's
right?
Yeah.
So you had to use your dolls and whatever to create that playground. But everything is really right there at their fingertips now.
Yep. And I think it creates a different dynamic for people. I think some people take that and run with it and say that I'm going to create an idea that really works and works for my community.
Right.
And then I think some people decide that they have what they need and they get content with that.
Right.
So I think the internet, like a lot of things, is a pretty neutral tool. I think it can really benefit people if they have that right mindset of things, but if they don't, ultimately they're going to fall back on what they have, and so the internet can definitely be a tool we use, and I think we should use it. It's going to become more useful and more practicable in everything we do, but we just have to be smart about that because kids are going to take that depending on the kind of mindset they have and how they approach it.
Yeah, and this something, when I go into the classrooms, one of the things I say, you mentioned beeper before.
Right.
I always kind of lean in with that joke. Does anybody know what a beeper is?
Right, exactly.
Because it's kind of like, hey, when I was your age, that's what I had in my pocket.
Right, exactly.
It was a beeper. And, to see the message, it was like they just text you a number. Sometimes you had to turn it upside down.
It was our texting. That's how we text.
That was our texting. And if you got one of those, somebody beeped you, you thought like you were the man.
Right, exactly. Because I got a word, not just a number, right? So,
But it's powerful though, because now that with technology at the palm of your hand to do research,
right,
where you can just Google something, where before you had to go to the library and get an encyclopedia and look at the research and history of like years past, you can click and get all that information. Now more than ever, we have the access to becoming entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
So if information was all you needed to be an entrepreneur, then a lot more of it
is all at your fingertips.
So obviously, there's more connection points we need to make that happen, right? And so that's what's so interesting. And what's great about entrepreneurship too is the myth of it is, that you have to create like something new in the world that the world has never seen before to get into business. And I've met a lot of people and young people who get stuck at that, kind of like that myth, hey, what do you want to do, or what's your idea, or the opportunity that you seek, and it's kind of like, oh, what I want to do, somebody already does it, so I got to think of something else. Well, Uber and Lyft are
right, exactly. The whole business world now is all about disruption, right?
It's just exactly they modified and just an old time, cab kind of way of doing it, and just kind of modified it and modernized it, and now it's like, oh my gosh, like you got this whole new sector of that industry that totally disrupted everything.
I mean, you have and you have some others. You have Instacart, which you don't ever have to go to the supermarket.
Right.
You just pick up the phone, order what you want on the app. Well, you don't even pick up the phone. You pick up your phone and use the app, order what you want, and somebody does the grocery shopping for you, and then somebody delivers it to you. So you don't even ever have to leave your house if you choose not to. If you want to be the hermit in the house,
totally.
somebody else is doing that. But then it created jobs, and then it, and a service. Now, of course, you pay for that, and then it created economics out of that. So, so Brandon, you have entrepreneurial parents?
I do.
Relatives?
My mom, both my parents actually are immigrants, which in my opinion is like a real entrepreneurial skill.
Yes.
My mom came from El Salvador, and she moved to San Pedro when she was about 11. And from there, she funded her own college education. And then, even though she didn't start her own business, went to work for AT&T. And I think has always carried that mindset of how do I make connections with people? How do I figure out the need in a community and solve that. And she works in customer service right now. So I think that's kind of where part of the thing that's inspired me is that she's always had that. She's always pushed us to do our best and to solve community problems. So I think that really inspired me in turn to go out and do that, and having a role model like that was really big in my life. Yeah.
There's my co-host Gilbert. He has a client, and they've actually been on the show. They're from El Salvador. And the daughter came here first, and whenever her mother would come to visit, she'd always say, bring this foods over to me, because she couldn't find them here, right?
Yeah.
So the mom came, and this was going on regularly every time the mother would come. So finally, the last time the mom came, she goes, why don't we create our own business? So they created a business selling beans and cheese and tortillas.
Yeah.
And so now the business is in its 6th year, and it's a $6 million business.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And she sells imports from Israel, the beans, and they have their own manufacturing company. They're out in the valley. And in fact, they were just awarded the Women's Business Award from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce out in, I think they're in Van Nuys.
Wow.
But I'll have to send you over the video when they were here.
Wow.
And because they talk about how they got started, and they couldn't find funding initially, but and they had to move because the person that owned the building they were in was selling, and so they had to really work hard on finding their funding. But once they did find the funding, they are able. Now they have their own manufacturer. I think they have about 100 employees, and they manufacture cheese. I think it's cheese and beans and tortillas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's only because the daughter couldn't find what she was looking for here. And they have they supply this to chain stores in the Valley and in San Francisco.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you
6
need.
million.
Seriously, it's just that. I mean, when you have the idea and you have the community that supports you, small as a family, you can go and make it.
Exactly. And that's really all it's about.
Right.
Yeah.
So the challenge we have this year for the Biz Camp is kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, American Airlines is going to be the sponsor, and so the kids have to solve a problem that the American Airlines is going to identify, and then create the solution. So it's even going to be kind of a challenge for us, right? Because we gotta. That's not how we normally do things.
No, disrupting our business.
Right,
So
but it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that'll be good.
And so the kids will pair up and partner up in order to create a solution that then could be ultimately a business.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting because
I think so.
And then it goes to what we were talking about, more entrepreneurial thinking.
Right, exactly.
It's going to adapt some of that thinking and practice for American Airlines in their partnership with us. So that's going to be exciting to see. I think that may be the first time we've done something like that.
But it will open up an avenue for different funding sources from us,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Because we could then create that same partnership with other sponsors. That would be fantastic, I think. Because here's some of our utility companies have been one of ours, which is a sponsor of our Recycling Black Dollars. And I asked this question because a lot of your businesses, established businesses that have been in for 50, 60 years, thinking that, we have a product that people have to have. So in this case, let's say it's electricity. People have to have electricity, right?
Yeah.
So
That's right.
we don't have to change our business model.
Right.
Right? Because people are always going to have lights and gas.
Right.
Well, along came solar.
Right.
Turn the whole equation around.
And the whole equation changed, right? And so, a lot of those utility companies are having problems.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how, they're buying back their own electricity.
Yeah.
And I asked a question to one of our representatives. I said, well, I guess I'm a little confused because you guys are huge and you have R&D, research and development departments.
Yeah.
How come you guys didn't address this years ago? Because you knew it was coming.
Right.
Because you're going to all of the summits.
Yeah.
You got firsthand information, right? And you should have addressed that then. And they basically said, well, it's because that wasn't our business model.
Right.
So even though they started out entrepreneurial, then they became corporate, and then they're stuck in their old ways, right? Whereas an entrepreneur would be going, wait a minute, solar's on the horizon. I went to this workshop or this seminar or this convention. Well, how can I restructure or be able to jump into that space with my business?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
And that's key word for that, adaptability. And the ability to adapt when the climate is changing and when you see the weather pattern changing in the industry, and that's why we have Netflix, Blockbuster dominated for so many years, almost 30 years. And along came Netflix and Redbox, who saw the climate changing in terms of how people were going to watch movies and entertainment. And they were resistant. They were resistant to make that adaptation. And while Netflix was willing to dive full head in. And so we know who's around now. So
right, exactly. And the same thing with the pager.
Right, that's right.
Right, because it became extinct when the cell phones, but early days, and this was before your time, when people had suitcases for cell phones, and only doctors and very expensive, wealthy people that had them, or real business people, and so not everybody had one, so they carried this around this brick. So those of you on Facebook Live, you know what I'm talking about. You have the bricks, and for us females, we like, oh, look at him, he must be important. He has a cell phone in his case, man, or in the middle of the console or the Mercedes. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, right. It was like, hello.
Hello. Yeah. Right. And then who would have thought that you would have a phone that you'd carry in your purse or your pocket, and it could connect all over the world. Remember early days of cell phone bill, you couldn't call Europe because it would have this astronaut, but you can call wherever the heck you want, or you can text anybody in the world. Right? That has revolutionized how we communicate. So we're no longer, we're just a phone away. A text away from someone in Europe, someone in China, someone, if there's a phone, you can reach them.
You can reach them. It's pretty easy now.
It's pretty easy. And before you used to have to go, okay, on the East Coast, it's 3 hours different. Nah, I'm just texting. They'll get it in the morning or whenever they get it. So those are the disruptors, and that's the adaptability to a business. And I know my business has evolved several places since I started. It started as a bookkeeping. Actually, it didn't. It started as I was teaching people how to use computers, because that was before computers were mainstream in homes. They only had them at work. So when they started buying their laptops and desktops, they didn't know how to use them. So that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial business. And then accounting, that became next, QuickBooks. And then the coaching came from that. And now, for a while, I was doing more coaching than I was doing that. Now I'm back to teaching the QuickBooks, but I'm teaching it in academic environments and for CBOs.
Wow.
And so look how it evolved. The radio show came because, one, we wanted to get the message out. Recycling black dollars, we need to keep it relevant. So that was one of the reasons we launched that. So next, I'd like to have TV. Let's do it. So that's the next level to that, and books are coming out of that. But that's my business. That's how it has evolved, and I had to be able to evolve with it to make it stay relevant.
And at Nifty, we've because of the technology, the movement in technology, in particular with apps and apps development. Last few years, we actually created another program in partnership. One of our major partners is Verizon. And it's called Startup Tech, and it's working with middle schoolers and some high schoolers on how to create an app. And
wonderful.
We adapt the MIT App Inventor platform. And we couple it with entrepreneurial thinking, and we have classrooms that are throughout the country, and it's growing, where more and more schools are saying, we want that. And so we're not the go-to for app creation, but we are the go-to for how do I use that app in an entrepreneurial sense.
Exactly.
And so, or one of the go-tos. So, and that's what we want to be. That's what we aspire to be. That education systems will say, hey, we want to teach our young people about business. But technology is, you can't have conversation about business without technology now.
No, you can't. It's all everything's based. And for those that have been resistant to embrace technology, those are the ones that are finding their businesses having so many more problems financially. Because there is just no way around it. It's not disappearing. Because our millennials here are making sure that that's the only way. They don't even know how to function without it. I mean, they don't even know what that would be like to be able to not communicate with a cell phone or not communicate. You guys don't have a clue about that. And so you got to be able to reach the people where the people are and be able to address who your new market or consumer is going to be. So you got to be able to speak to them in the language that they hear.
That's right.
So you have no choice. So if you're resistant people out there, then that's going to hurt your business. It's not going to hurt them at all, because they're just going to go to somebody else. But it's interesting you said about the app development for you guys, because last year and the year before, we had so many kids that were creating apps in the biz camp, right? And we didn't know how to monetize it. So, and I tried to reach out to some people. Okay, can you guys come into the class to teach them how to monetize? So, when you do that little financial chart with the how do you do that with an application? That's so I had to go home and do some research in order to come out like, okay, what are the revenue streams that can be generated from a mobile app? And then this is how, and it's all about clickable and all that sort of stuff.
But a variety of ways. Yeah.
Right, a variety of ways. So that's good that you guys did that, because that's where the kids were coming.
That's right. Yeah, and they're coming heavy and hard.
Oh yeah, I think the first year, the year before, I think there were like 6 people and 6 or 7 kids out of the 26 that actually had mobile apps.
Yeah, I believe it. And one thing too in coaching young people is to help them understand when they need an app versus what can be done on a website.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So sometimes students might have thought, hey, I need to develop an app to do X, Y, Z. It was very descriptive of a website. You can do that on the website.
You can do that on a website.
An app could be used to complement a website or your business. Doesn't have to be always the main piece of it. So,
right, exactly. And I think that even for our adult business owners, when do you need to utilize your and I found that it's like when having a laptop versus a desktop, and just how do I use it to make sure that I'm being able to get to my resources when I need to get to it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think one of the best disruptive businesses is Google Drive.
Sure. Oh, totally.
Because that has revolution. You don't need to carry a flash drive or lose it or it breaks. Yeah. Just dump it all in your Google Drive.
Absolutely.
And I think it's even more adaptable for me than Dropbox.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And just the whole cloud.
Yeah.
The cloud-based way of saving work and what that has done for, just removing the anxiety of losing work because you didn't save it.
Right, exactly.
And going all the way back to the floppy disk.
Remember that floppy disk? Yes.
That you can get you used to get it from a vending machine. Now,
right, exactly.
Now you can, just kind of, as you're working, the cloud is saving, and it's pretty revolutionary.
Exactly. So it has changed in business, and that's how it does. It changes. Absolutely. It changes every single day.
Absolutely.
It evolves, and but the Nifty program, so we're going to tell you guys, so the Biz Camp starts July 10th, and it goes on to the 21st. Yep. It's going to be housed at the Los Angeles Urban League. I'm going to get a flyer to give you details, and I think our deadline was the 31st. Do we have people?
We do have quite a few people.
Okay.
I would encourage, though, if someone is still interested, for them to send it on over as soon as possible.
Okay.
And we'll kind of take a look at our current roster, and I would still encourage people to continue to, over the next couple of days, to send them on over to us, so we can still keep them as considerations for the Biz Camp.
Okay. Yeah. So you can reach us. The camp will be from July 10th to the 21st, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each weekday at the Los Angeles Urban League, and it'd be at 4401 Crenshaw Boulevard and Suite 201, and that's Los Angeles, California. If you wish to call us, you can call us at 323-299-9660 at extension 2212. And it is a 2-week intensive summer program, including field trips and guest speakers, aimed at providing students with a solid business background. You can submit your application. You want to contact Kene?
Yeah, absolutely. Email would work best.
Okay.
KENET @nifty.com. That's KENE, the letter T, @NFTE.com.
And I am one of the certified teachers that will be teaching, along with Rhonda Santafort. We've been doing this for a couple of years. She and I work very well together, and we're both very passionate about this subject. As I said at the top of the hour, or the top of the 2 hours, that this is my area that I really, truly have devoted a lot of my time to, and that is making sure that our kids are that we're creating a better place for our children to live on this planet. And that they are equipped with all the tools and the skill sets that they need to be better prepared for what is here for them.
Absolutely.
So we're excited. So call in today. Again, the phone number was 323-299-9660, extension 2212, and it's going to be a fun camp. Parents, and those of you on Facebook Live, you don't have to worry about your kids for 10 days. We have them from 9 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening.
We feed them too.
And we feed them. It's an excellent program. We feed them. We take them on field trips. And they have a great time. They come back. They challenge you.
That's right.
And so it's a lot of fun. And then at the end of it, there's a graduation for the kids. And the kids will be competing for first place, second place, and third place, I believe, for the best business idea, concept, and being able to pitch that concept.
Yeah, and meeting some really cool people, local entrepreneurs and local professionals that'll come and meet the young people and just hang out with the camp. So it's going to be a great time.
We're going to have a really good time. So call us to sign your child up. And parents, you might even come back out and volunteer and learn some stuff yourself, because there's a lot of information that is really, really cool stuff. And for me, I can't even think of being anything more than an entrepreneur. That's just it's part of the blood. It's in my DNA.
You do it so well. You do it so well.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. He was a caterer. He had his own grocery store.
Nice.
And then my grandmother, she made quilts. And she sold quilts. Wow. And then my mom had actually one of the very first beauty shops in Nashville, Tennessee, in her area.
Yeah.
And then I had an aunt that made draperies. She had her own interior decorating business.
Oh, wow. Okay. My mother-in-law has that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She does interior decorating and.
Yeah. So my her specialty was drapes, and that was in Hamilton, Alabama. So I come from a long line of. It was just inevitable that I was going to do. And out of each one of my my cousins, I think I have one cousin is in Atlanta. She has her own business. She runs an adult daycare center.
Oh, okay.
And then I have another one that's more crafty. There's a couple of artists and so forth in our family, and then there are others that are military. The other half was military or they were teachers.
Nice. Okay. All right.
And even my 88-year-old uncle, he teaches. And he teaches a program that he teaches construction apprentices how to pass the exam.
Nice.
And they they pass, and then they can get their license. And so he still does that today. He does it 3 times a week. He's 88 years old.
Wow.
And a lot of the electricians, the air conditioning, there's a number of them that are just now retiring that they have to say they would not have gotten their license if it had not been, because it's the math part.
Right.
If he hadn't have taught them how to pass the exam.
Wow.
And so they attribute their career in construction to him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it comes. So the teaching part is part of my genealogy as well.
So we're all not retiring anytime soon.
No time soon. 88 years old.
Right,
He's still at it. And recently he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So when I went to this doctor, I said, "Look, here's how this is going to go. We need to make sure whatever treatment you have that he is still functional.
Right.
He still wants to teach every Saturday.
Right.
My grandmother lived to be 102.
Wow.
So he needs to be able to live that long as well. So the doctor said, "Okay, Krista, I got you." So don't do anything extreme that's going to stop that, because this is what keeps him alive.
That's what keeps him going.
That he can teach, and he really enjoys it. And he's been doing that now for well over 50 years.
Wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah, so I'm going to be here for 102 years old. And I'm going to be doing what I do. And I'm excited about it. So, Brandon, you're excited. So next year is your sophomore year in school. You excited?
Very excited.
Okay, that's cool.
I think it's going to be really nice. I mean, it's great to have friends back again. And I think we're all going to come back from the summer with different entrepreneurial opportunities and different service opportunities too. And I think that's going to change the way we approach our sophomore year. I think we'll be a little more rigorous, and we'll be full of energy and passion, like we had freshman year, but even stronger now.
Even stronger. It's funny because, my nephew, his first year, usually freshman year is a little tough being away from home.
Yeah.
And just adjusting to being your own adult,
right.
Your own disciplinarian to get up and go to class. So he told us when he went to, he just graduated. He will be going into his second year of his master's program.
Oh, wow.
So he graduated the year before, and he said that those 4 years was the most eye-opening experiences he's ever had. He went to University of Dayton, which was a different experience because he was born here in California.
Yeah.
And so the people were different. The culture was different. He wished he had gone to a black college.
Ah, okay.
He said if he had a thought about it, doing it again, he would have gone to a historical black college because he had a certain concept in mind about college, and he didn't get that when he got there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he pledged in his senior year.
Okay.
Because when he was trying in his sophomore year, it didn't really work out that well.
All right.
And but now he's at the University of Houston, and he's finishing up his master's program.
Nice.
It's in sports management.
Nice.
So he's finished or finishing, and he's working, but he's had some very interesting life experiences. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you're going to be part of our business camp. I'd love to have you part of our camp.
I would too.
Okay. We'll see. We got the guy over here, huh?
I'll tell Kim, and I don't want to forget our awesome team here in LA. I'm one of the members of the team here in LA for Nifty LA. Kim Small, our director, who couldn't be here today. Just again, Kim is awesome, and she's doing a lot of great things here in the LA area, as well as Bracy Fuentes. She's also another member of our team here who helps out in many different ways and is leading a lot of great initiatives. And our development director, Michelle, she's also here as well, between here and the Bay Area, constantly helping us to locate new partnerships with funders, as well as develop the ones we have now, and just create more opportunities for our young people. So, and the slew of interns that we work with, Brandon is one, and we are so thankful to have him when we can, when he's here. We also have a partnership with USC. Where we have interns throughout the year from USC as well. They come help us out too.
And we have interns that's over usually at the summer from Ernst & Young with us, right? The financial gals. So we usually have 5 of those. So that's amazing. 5 amazing young men. Bracy was actually on the show last year.
That's right, yeah.
And so that was fantastic. We're going to have Kim. So when the kids finish the class, we're going to bring Kim on with those kids.
Oh, very good.
So she'll get her opportunity. Yeah. So, I think this, we got to keep the world needs to know, and our population needs to know that these programs are out there for their kids, and so that's why it's a pleasure and an honor that you guys are here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having
me. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic camp.
It's going to be awesome. So,
all right, we are now at our 5 o'clock hour. That was a fast 2 hours, huh, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we will see you next week. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. Again, happy birthday, Mom. And I will see you. Gilbert Buchanan will be back next Friday. So have a fantastic week, and we are signing off for the week.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.